every 40 seconds, someone in the US has a stroke. Believe it or not, every 40 seconds. But surviving the first one doesn't guarantee safety from another one. Are you prepared to fight back and prevent the next stroke that may come your way? You probably haven't had a stroke before, but hey.
So today on the Life and Health Show, we are revealing life-saving strategies that are crucial for not just surviving, but thriving after a stroke. This isn't just advice that we are trying to share with you. These are must-follow steps that could save your life or the life of someone you love.
Oh my goodness, your life or someone you like or love. From the latest medical treatments to everyday lifestyle changes, we will show you how to fortify your body against the threat of another stroke if you've already got your first one down. Because knowing what to do next is half the battle. Half the battle is solved if you know what to do next.
So stay with us. It's time to take control and ensure you don't get stroke. And if you already did, then your first stroke would definitely be your last.
Oh, come on, man. Your first stroke would be your last one.
Your next steps could change everything.
The next steps, oh my goodness. And this is what we're going to be doing today. All right, so don't just watch. If you are watching, wherever you're watching us from, act, subscribe, learn, hit the follow button, and transform your approach to health today. This episode could literally save your life. I mean, we always say stuff like that, but I mean this for a fact because we know the kind of information we're going to be giving here. So it could literally save your life. So we are going to show you 5 treatment strategies, for you to follow if you already have one stroke down or if you want to avoid getting a stroke in the first place.
We will also discuss some lifestyle strategies that can stop a new or second stroke and keep your recovery on course.
Oh, come on, man. Keep your recovery on course if you already have one down. All right. So with that being said, let's move on straight to the show. We are going to be talking about 5 treatment strategies, medical treatment strategies. And the first question to ask is there a cure for stroke at all? Why don't we say the first thing we're going to talk about is how to cure a stroke. Is there a cure for stroke?
No.
There is no cure.
There is no cure.
All right. But the good thing is there are some promising future treatments out there. As a matter of fact, on our channel, there are a couple of videos. One that features a doctor called Dr. Tobin, who uses a procedure we call perispinal etanercept injection. If you don't understand, it's fine. We are talking medical terms. But basically, all that we mean is that he uses some kind of a medicine, inject, through your back, to your spinal cord, if you have a stroke. And then with that injection, many people have received restoration from their stroke-ridden bodies. So if they couldn't walk, they start walking. As a matter of fact, I'm going to show a video on that before we go into the details of our show. And there's also another video that we're going to talk about. That's the future of stroke treatment. So it's going to be a little bit of a quick forwarding video.
To the shop.
This is a lady that has received
The change in liver
injection.
is something
She previously had a stroke.
It's gone. Hi.
Hello there.
It worked.
She's saying that the medication worked.
Yeah.
Those who are watching from TikTok, you don't see this, but eventually you would have to join our YouTube to see this. But
Here. Hi.
this lady is a teacher who received this injection at her back and received almost complete restoration from, immobility. So with that being said, let's move on to the next video. In a world where a tiny robot can heal your brain after a stroke, sounds like a science fiction. Think again. Every 40 seconds, someone in the US has a stroke. Today, we are diving into the future of stroke treatment. A brain stroke occurs when the blood supply to part of your brain is interrupted or reduced, preventing brain tissue from getting oxygenated blood. Stroke is the 5th leading cause of
death in the U.S. So some even exciting developments.
Okay, so this
far.
is some of the newer
By
treatments
immersing
for
patients in
stroke
a
that is
3D
coming up. It's going to be at
VR
your
makes
desktop
exercises
soon,
more
using
engaging
VR
and effective.
headsets that will train
It helps
people,
rewire
for
the brain,
rehabilitation purposes.
by creating new neural pathways. And we recently witnessed Apple's VR Vision Pro, and this device is going to be a game changer, as it's going to be used by developers to develop more of such potential software programs that could be used on a VR headset.
We can't just wait until the future comes. But suffice to say that I just want to whet your appetite that hang in there. If you have a stroke and you can't move, don't die. Just watch us and do some of the things that we're going to show you, because those things are going to help you to prolong your life and potentially receive some of these futuristic therapies that are going to come. And also, improve your overall function, even if those things don't come early enough. So that is where we wanted you to see that it's not all bad, it's not all lost on us. There's going to be a place where we do much better. All right. So, and I think that is what I wanted to show, our viewers in terms of what is out there for stroke treatment. Nanobots or robots, tiny robots fixing your brain where it was damaged, and also obviously futuristic, VR set. That one I don't even think is going to last any longer, because as we speak, Apple has earpieces that have been retrofitted with technology such that people who can hear benefit from the the earphones. So that is just now. So I can imagine what the technology will allow us to do with the VR headset, so that if you have a stroke, you wear your VR headset. You don't need somebody to come home and give you those physical therapy treatments. You can do a lot, even if somebody has to come. Just the software's presence, completely with you will make you speed up your recovery because of all the programs that can be put on a VR headset. But again, that is the future that we are talking about now. So I guess we can move on with what we want to do now.
So until the future becomes now, we still have tools that we can use. Old school stroke rehabilitation, like you said, right? And medical treatment strategies. The first one that we want to talk about is the use of drugs in order to help control or prevent the second strike of stroke.
Definitely.
So the first one is anti-platelets.
So for the drugs, we are starting with one called the anti-platelet or anticoagulant therapies. So in other words, what we are saying is that if you have a stroke, or if you, if you had a stroke before, right? If you had a stroke before, then obviously you have to remember that you must take every medication that you are given. Every medication that is given to you, you must take it. Some people feel like, I was just prescribed a month's worth of medication, and after that month, I'm feeling better, so I'm done. That's not how it works. Every medication, we believe that one of the most important medications that are going to be given to you after a first stroke is the anticoagulant or antiplatelet therapies, which basically are blood thinners, I should say. Because if you remember, those of you who are good students of our channel, we say that stroke happens because, for the most part, you have a black clot in your brain. So if we can prevent a clot from forming in the first place, then perchance you won't get a second stroke, right? So that is why we need the anti-platelet therapies. And before we actually go even further, we also have to put out a caution that the fact that you get a first stroke is a sign. It's a sign that you are going to get a second stroke if you don't take care. Yes, because the risk factors are still there.
High. Yep.
The risk factors for stroke are already there. That's why you get a first one. So it's a higher chance for you to get a second stroke if you do not take those medications seriously. And that being said, we can also talk about somebody with a TIA, somebody who didn't get a full-blown stroke. They got a transient ischemic attack, which is a knocking onto stroke. You are lucky you didn't get a full-blown stroke. But once that happens, chances are that you could get a full-blown stroke if you do not take your antiplatelet and anticoagulant therapies very seriously.
And some people wouldn't, after the attack, wouldn't even follow up with the doctor. You know, it happens at home, or you went to visit, or you were in the house, shopping mall, somewhere, you know,
Blacked out for a few
for
seconds.
a few seconds, and you know something really had happened. You know, you don't want to brush it off and move on with your lifestyle, right? You have to follow up with your doctor. For all that you know, it's just a warning sign, or it's about to be blown full
blown.
Yeah, so for you to get stroke. So it's a sign that you follow through with your doctor.
Definitely. So definitely the first therapy, the first strategy to prevent a stroke or a second stroke is your antiplatelet or anticoagulant therapies. Examples of which are aspirin, common medications like aspirin, and also another medication called clopidogrel or Plavix in the US. We used to call it Plavix for the brand name. There's also warfarin, or the newer kinds of medications that have replaced warfarin, which we know some of them.
Yeah, so we have the Xarelto, we have the Eliquis.
Eliquis, Xarelto are the common ones that we see. Those may be medications that may have been prescribed for you to prevent a second stroke because they prevent a clot from forming. So you do not play with those. Those are medications that when you are on, you don't wait for them to get empty before you go for a refill. You know, even if your doctor forgets, you got to be on top of them and on top of your pharmacist. Because if you ran out and you clot, if you're not lucky, you can basically get back to your stroke. And who knows what will happen the second time you get a stroke. It may be a full, more serious stroke that you may not be able to wake up from. So definitely ensure that you do not forget your antiplatelet therapies. So that is one thing that I think we can say with that. The next thing also is, or second therapy, is blood pressure treatment. If you have had a stroke or a near experience with stroke, what we call TIA, or ischemic attack, some form of blacking out, tripping down, and in a few minutes later you woke up, it brought you to the doctor, or you probably didn't go, and you are normal now. That is a TIA there, for the most part. Of course, it could be some other differential diagnosis. Your pressure may have dropped so much you blacked out. But we are focusing on stroke. If something like that had happened, or you had a real stroke and you recovered, you don't want to play with your blood pressure. Come on, man, you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, so you really have to make sure that you take your medications and religiously. You don't want to play around it. So in understanding the way that stroke happened, right? You were talking about blood clots, and the doctor has given you medication to help you not to form clots in your system. You started taking this medication, and maybe somebody come around and say that, oh, stop taking all these medication. Stop taking this medication. I know another kind of medication, or I know somebody who can switch you from using the conventional medicine to something else. I know this, like foods or herbs.
Natural foods, natural herbs, right?
Herbs and other things that have less side effect. So why do you bother yourself the money and all that and the way you feel for taking these kinds of medication? But because of your knowledge about your body, you're preventing your body from forming clots. You want to stop. You don't want to just drop everything and go follow somebody who is suggesting something else. You have to be aware that if you stop taking these medications, it's likely that you are going to form more clots, and your blood pressure is going to skyrocket and go up. And if these two things are not under control, are not being monitored, are not being, you're not taking your medication to control these things, it's likely that you are going to get even a harder, stronger, a more severe case of stroke heading down. So we have to be very careful. You don't stop medication without talking to your doctor. If you don't feel well, if it's not making you feel well, you have to discuss it with your doctor when it comes to the side effects and the other things that come alongside from taking medications.
Definitely. And along with the anticoagulant medications, the blood pressure medications, we have a group of medications called the ACE inhibitors, as well as beta blockers or diuretics too. And so, if you may be on a medication that ends with a pril, lisinopril, ramipril, whatever pril, you know that it is protecting you not just from blood pressure, but eventually from a stroke. Or you may be on a medication that ends in a lol, atenolol, metoprolol. Those medications may also be doing you good. In fact, we may not be able to mention all of them, but the key is that every medication that you have been prescribed is for a reason. So don't stop it, especially if your pressure is high or you had an encounter with stroke, or you had a stroke before, you have a family history of stroke, and you don't want to have the second stroke coming on board. If that is the case, then obviously you have to ensure that you are taking whatever blood pressure medication that you have been given, including water pills like furosemide even, or sometimes, and the most common ones maybe the hydrochlorothiazide or clothalidone. All right. So, not to waste more time. So we've done two main medical treatments: anticoagulant and blood pressure. Now, go on.
The third one is cholesterol lowering medications. High levels of LDL cholesterol can lead to the buildup of plaques. High cholesterol is an increasing risk, stroke risk. So you have to make sure that you take your medication. Most doctors will put medication on, like the statins. If you're taking medications like atorvastatins, simvastatin, lovastatins, all the statins, it's not just because they want to add on. It's something to help prevent you from getting second stroke or getting stroke in general. So lowering your cholesterol, your LDL, is very important if you want to prevent stroke.
All right. And then also the fourth one is what? Preventing diabetes, blood sugar levels from going too high. Some people, their stroke came about because their blood sugar levels were high. They did not even find out, or they had diabetes, and yet they could not control so much that eventually they had a stroke. And of course, certain diseases predispose you to stroke. If you are diabetic, you are prone to having a stroke if your control is not as on point as it should be, because high sugar levels basically destroys the inner lining of your vessels, and it also leads to accumulation of plaques, which can break and then clot forming, and good old clot will lead to a stroke. So if you have had a stroke before, one of the things to do is to ensure that your sugar level is on point. Your blood sugar is fine. Even if you were not diagnosed with diabetes before, let them check and make sure that you don't have any lingering high sugar levels around some time of the day at all, because they will predispose you to another stroke if you don't check it. And if you haven't had a stroke before and your sugar levels are high, you are diabetic and you're not doing anything, you are just waiting for a stroke to happen, because it is a precursor to a stroke. And if you want to add some more.
Yeah, so monitoring is very important so that you keep an eye on it, because it's a day-to-day, being diabetic, I think, is very difficult disease state to really control. So you cannot just let yourself go, you just have to keep monitoring. We have the daily checks, even of late, we have this new machines that have come, the Libres and all the ones that you put on your skin, that you just keep checking it on your phone. You have to pay attention to the level so that it will check what to eat and what not also to eat, which can help regulate the levels day to day. And also you go to the doctor after 3 months, they will do the blood work to check your A1C, right? To make sure that your levels are being controlled.
Definitely. So that is blood sugar levels for you. So if you have had a stroke, or you have a family history, or you want to protect yourself from getting a stroke again or the first time, make sure that you monitor your blood sugar levels. Now, the fifth one this is a little bit more of a technical thing, but if you are in a place where healthcare delivery is good, you may be checked for it. And that is what we call carotid endarterectomy. That is basically the procedure that is done for individuals with significant carotid artery narrowing. So the arteries that go from your neck to your brain delivering oxygenated blood, if they are narrowed as a result of plaque formation, it leads to a stroke eventually. And so if you have had a stroke before, your doctors must check to see if the carotid arteries are not full of plaque. And if they are, then there will be a surgery that has to be done to clean up those arteries. And that is what I said that long name. Basically a procedure that will make them go through that carotid artery and ensure that all the plaques in there are removed to open it up for oxygenated blood or for blood to go to your brain and protect you against, ischemic stroke or even, a blockade because of a plaque that may break and lead to a clot right there. So that is the fifth medical point for people who are closer to being, getting a stroke. That is, they have had an experience like a close call to getting a stroke, or they've had a stroke before, or they have a family history and they want to prevent a second stroke attack from happening. That's the medical treatments that we have listed so far. And these are all preventative strategies, right?
So next, we shift to lifestyle strategies. The first part was more like your doctor giving you direction and you following through. So what can you do on your own? How do you change?
I like that. This is where you have the most control, right?
Yes, this one you have a say in it. Maybe the first part, the doctor said, do this, do
and you
that,
just have to do it.
And you have to follow through. But this one is yourself. Like, what can you do differently so that you don't get yourself into that situation or get hit by stroke for the second time, or maybe even the first time, right? So the first one is your diet. Diet, right?
We won't go without saying that because it's always the first.
Yes, so diets, like what can you do? What kinds of foods? So people hear diet and they're turned off. We are not saying that you shouldn't eat, but we are talking about what kinds of foods should be on your plate. What kinds of foods should be your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner? Is it going to be all salted and all sugary foods every day and fatty foods? Or you're going to pick and choose the good ones that can help boost up your health and your way of life and having a healthy lifestyle. So the first one, you have to include fruits and veggies.
Oh, come on, man.
In your diet.
Fruits and vegetables in your diet, right?
Yeah, you have to include the grains. I know sometimes this season, as it gets colder, I tend to find it difficult to eat the salad, right? The cold form of it. Because you're cold, you want something warm. You can switch over, instead of eating it cold, you can start making it more soupy or more stewy. But all the same, you stir fry it.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I cook.
So you have to incorporate grains in your diet. And you also have to do more whole grains. You don't just go for the white starchy ones. You have to pick the whole grains, the one that will include the fibers in there, so that you can really balance your diet and get all the right nutrients.
Definitely. And there's actually a recommended diet that the American Heart Association, I think it's American Heart Association or maybe the Hypertensive Association. It's called a DASH diet, which is basically dietary approaches for somebody with hypertension. If you go with that diet, it will recommend greens, vegetables, and also some other things that will make you healthy. And like Gifty is saying, when people hear about diet, they think you're going to starve. No, you can eat and be full. It's just that you're eating the right things.
Right.
I mean, if you eat 2 bowls of salad without any bad, dressing on it,
lots of sugar and all that.
the dressing is healthy. Who cares? It's still filling. You are still full, But if you feel like you have to eat, white starch like rice, or fufu, or yam, or potatoes, or yuca, whatever starchy food you think will fill you is what you eat, then obviously you're going to continue to increase your risk of getting a stroke or diabetes or even gaining weight, which are all going to lead to other things. So, yes, diet doesn't mean starve. Eat, but eat the right stuff. Eat the healthy stuff. Eat the rich people's food. You know, rich people eat. Because you are rich. Don't look down on yourself. You are rich. You know? Eat the nice cooked salmon with less salt, nice dress, you know, with some tossed spinach on the side. Oh, come on, man.
So, with a DASH diet, I think you are being encouraged to gear more towards the Mediterranean diet.
That's also another form, yeah?
Yeah, the Mediterranean diet, which include more greens and more grains. You know, more
Nuts.
greens
They
and more
include
grains,
nuts
and the nuts too.
And
you know.
fish and all
Yes.
those things, yeah.
Yes. So, if you need more information, I think you can go back to our videos or look into Mediterranean diet. And we can throw our culture and the foods that we've grown up with away, because that's what we were introduced to. That's what we know, you know, and that's what we love. You know, we can throw our foods away. But what can we do, or what can we add on to make it more healthy base? You know, we do the real thing. We start from scratch. We stay away from the processed foods a lot. We do the right things. But what we find ourselves into trouble is overcooking it, you know, is one, and also the size, the portion size.
Portion size, oh my goodness.
Portion size.
Portion sizes.
So if we love our fufu, what can we do, or what can we add on so that we'll make the right choices? We won't find ourselves into trouble, you know? If the sauce is starchy, you know, so instead of going for the processed potato, we can go for the original yuca, the original cassava, you know, and start from there. And after we've done and processed and do all that to that state, how much do we consume? You know, like last time we were suggesting, we can eat a bowl of salad first before we eat our fufu. So that we are getting our grains, we are still getting our starchy ones, but it's not so much for us to be filled so much with the starchy without the good things that makes it healthy coming along. So we just have to pick and choose wisely so that we will eat right and not find ourselves in that situation of getting strong.
Definitely, that's a good point. You still have a way to cheat the system. The system has shown you to eat big bowls of food. You know, sometimes people show foods on Facebook and I see and I'm like, man, one person's going to eat all this food. And this is even something they think is good. That's why they are showing. Talk about the ones that are not good. You can imagine. So eat, like she said, if you have to, you know, like you have been brought up to eat starchy foods all the time. Well, you may not completely stop if you can. If you can, then please stop. You know, you can. But like she is saying, you can trick your body into cutting back. Eat a salad first before you eat that starchy food, and be disciplined enough so when you eat your regular starchy food, when your tummy tells you that you are full,
You
don't
stop.
say that. don't say that. Oh, the first one wasn't real food, so I'm going to continue. No. Yeah, you can eat a bowl of potatoes. You can eat a bowl of plantain chips, whatever it is. They are all unhealthy. But if you can't stop them completely, like we want you to, then find a way to cheat and eventually stop. You know, because that's the way, or else they will build up, and you are going to get all these things that we're talking about. So somebody may say that. So I mean, I'm happy you brought it up because some people may be discouraged and say that you're telling us all the foods that we know we should throw out. Don't throw out, but cut them back. If you're somebody who eats every day fufu, some people even eat twice a day. You know, you tell yourself, okay, knowing what I know now, the knowledge is abundant now.
Right.
I'm going to cut back to every other day. Or if you eat it every other day, say that, I'm going to do it once a week on Sundays.
Just Sundays.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing something. It's not like completely eliminating it. And that way, you get the benefit of, your sweet tongue as well as the health part that we want you to get. So it's very important that way. So in the interest of time, we should move forward. So the other strategy is what? Exercise. And we've mentioned it several times also on this channel. Regular exercise, about 150 minutes of exercise per week, which comes to about 30 minutes per day for the 5 days of a week. If you do 30 minutes daily of an exercise, that is good. You can bank on your health. No matter your age, if you are consistent with 30 minutes of brisk exercise, whether it is running, with mixed with weightlifting or whatever it is you're doing, skipping 30 minutes per day, or even every other day if your schedule doesn't allow it. Consistency is the key. Then obviously you are going to get a benefit of the exercise. You are going to protect yourself from getting all these diseases that we are talking about. So exercise. And if you are a first-time stroke person, you may not be able to do brisk exercise like we want you to, which is okay because you're already impacted in terms of your physical abilities. But you still have to exercise in some way. So your muscles will begin to train and burn the sugars and ensure that you actually become more physical. You become you regain some of the losses that you have gained as a result of the stroke that you had the first time. But if you haven't had a stroke before, you have no excuse. Come on, man, go exercise. Go exercise. All right.
Yeah. And the third point is our weight management. How do I control my weight? So if you keep gaining weight every year, you keep adding on, by the time that you realize, you get to a point that you are really, really up there. So how do you manage it? End of the day is the food that you put in and the activities that you do. So the first part, we talk about diet. The second is exercise. If you don't control your diet and if you don't exercise, then it's going to lead to you gaining weight. So how do you manage it? By watching what you eat and by staying healthy.
Staying active too, right? Definitely.
Active, yes.
Definitely. Because being overweight contributes to hypertension. If your weight is up there, you are going to get hypertensive. Your blood pressure is going to go high. And your sugar may go high. You may get diabetes just because of your weight.
Right.
So those two things are very important. To avoid anything at all, avoid it, just make sure that you keep your weight under check. And again, she said diet and exercise, which we already talked about, is just what's going to help you to avoid them. All right, the next one is quitting smoking. I know a lot of you don't smoke, but in order to be complete, we have to say it. If you are watching and you smoke, then you must stop. I mean, I can say you must stop, right? This one I can say you may stop.
No, you have to cut off.
You got to stop. You got to stop because smoking accelerates clot formation. Stroke is the result of clot formation.
Right.
And when you smoke, smoking makes clots form or smoking leads to clot formation.
Right.
So if you are smoking, you are telling me that eventually you want to get a stroke. As simple as that. People who are not smoking are even getting strokes. They are not already increasing anything like that. But you are taking something that itself leads to a stroke, leads to clot formation. So you are definitely going to get a clot at some point. It may not be now, it may not be in the near future, but if you continue, that is the end result of smoking. Apart from all the other things that we know about in terms of smoking, whether it is lung cancer or all the other things that can happen, smoking is in itself something that accelerates or increases clot formation. So it will make and lead to clots, which is not something you want to have, right?
Yeah.
And then, unless you have something
And
to
also, smoke also narrow your arteries, right?
Definitely.
It constricts the arteries to the point that the blood is not freely flowing, and that can spike your blood pressure, and your heart is beating harder and harder to push it in, and that can lead to stroke. So definitely you have to quit smoking if you do smoke. And even with the younger ones, I know there is a different kind of smoking out there that is as bad. It's even worse than the regular smoking. So don't even start at all because it comes with a lot of complications. And the third one is you have to limit alcohol, right? Alcohol intake. If you drink, you have to stop. Or you have to limit the intake. I know the literature shows that at least one glass of alcohol a day.
One glass of wine. It's fine.
It's fine, but
that is what they are saying.
If you don't drink alcohol, don't go start because the literature is saying one glass is okay. You just don't want to go there at all because it comes with a lot of complications and you don't want to find yourself in that situation. So if you don't drink, don't even start because that is one risk that can lead to stroke.
Definitely. and you don't want to take any word for that, because I don't know how many people who can get one glass and be okay with it. So just don't start, because one glass may lead to a second glass, may lead to a third glass, and before you know, you're an alcoholic. So you don't want to do that. And plus, everybody is different. They may the literature may say one glass or two glasses may be fine, but for you, maybe your liver is such that even that one can put you down. So you don't want to just start that. But suffice to say that we don't want people to say that, oh, you didn't mention, so we just have to mention it for you to know, so that you stay away from it. All right, and the next one is to manage your stress levels. To manage your stress levels, and we cannot, put that in any simpler words than that, because a lot of people have gotten a stroke because of persistent stress. Persistent stress. Stress is something that leads to diabetes, it leads to blood pressure, and obviously would lead to a stroke if you do not stop being stressed with life. And we've talked about stress before on our channel. We probably will hit it back again, because it is something that a lot of people face. Whether it is a parent or who's trying to bring up some teenage kids that are bothering them, or a new mother who can't handle the 2-year-old that is running around every time they can deal with it, or a wife that cannot handle the man she has married, or a man that cannot handle the wife. You think I was going to just say that one? Because both ways, right? Yeah. Stress, because the woman is stressing you up. You go to work, you are late for 5 minutes, you're coming home, and stress meets you at the door. I mean, if you do not manage your stress, chances are that you are going to deal with a stroke in the future. But the good thing is, there are ways to manage stress.
Right.
Everybody gets stressed at some point. Chronic stress is what we don't want you to be in. So the ways to manage stress, some of them are what? Deep breathing exercises. Or what I would say, plain old avoid the situation. Stay away from the situation, whatever is stressing you. Of course, you can't stay away from your wife for good. But if she's stressing you, you can take a break and go to your parents, and just a quick trip to your parents and stay there. Even though you're a guy, the Bible says you should leave your father and mother. But when you are stressed, you got to go back. When you are stressed, you probably should go back and reassess the situation. But I know, jokes aside, stress is something that is serious,
right?
And whatever it is that is stressing you in this life should not be enough to put you into a state of hypertension, diabetes, or eventual stroke. So love yourself and remove any stressful situations. Now, some of the stresses that I think we should not deal with at all is the stress of competition. Your classmates are doing this, so you want to do the same thing. This friend is doing this, so I have to do the same. You don't have to do anything. Just be you, as we say in America. Be you. Just be yourself. Be content with what you have and be proud of the achievements that you have. Do not be stressed about what other people are doing, taking on 3 jobs just because you want to meet the standard of the Joneses in your area. Everybody's driving a Beamer, you got to drive a Mercedes, so you got to work 3 jobs to make it. Who cares? And then you are stressed, you can't get sleep. You're fighting your family because money is not there. Cut your coat according to your size and take those unnecessary stresses away so that you'll be healthy and avoid these diseases that we are talking about. You have anything else?
And another way to manage stress, if you are a Christian, you delve into the Word. The Bible,
come on, man!
You pour your heart out. You pray, and you don't let the situation control how you feel. You cast your burdens.
Cast your burden. I love that. Cast your burdens. Right?
It can be overwhelming sometimes. Sometimes they say that life is tough, right? You can get to a point that you are overwhelmed. So when you get to that state, the advantage of being a Christian, is to find a quiet time, a quiet place, pour your heart out. And you'll be surprised you come out and everything seems so calm around you, And that is a way to manage your stress. That's the way to manage your life to the point that you don't get to that state that your blood pressure is shooting high, your cortisol is being released, and your hormones are all over
the place.
and you are hitting the point of you getting stroke. So sometimes drop everything and take time and just take care of yourself and wait on God. And God will definitely come through the situations. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, the next and the last strategy to avoid a stroke is to have regular checkups, to visit the doctor or your doctors more often. Now, I'm not oblivious to the fact that if you're watching from a developing country or a place where doctors are so scarce to come by, you probably are not used to just going to the doctors just to go for checkup because you are not sick, because people just go because they are sick.
Right.
So if you say you're going for checkup, it sounds foreign, but you still got to do it, especially if you're over 30 years old. You can't just stay every year and not go for any checkup. You have to go and find out your numbers, such as your blood pressure, your cholesterol, and your blood sugar. These three numbers, you cannot go without knowing them. Your blood sugar, blood pressure, and blood cholesterol. If your doctor doesn't check these, fire them, especially if you are over the age of 30.
If you have one to fire.
That's a good point. If you have one to fire, fire them. But if you don't have one, just hire some and make sure you make use of that. If you are 40 years and you don't know whether or not your pressure is high, or you don't know whether or not your sugar is normal, or you don't know whether or not your cholesterol is normal, then you are being late. You are already late, behind schedule, I should say. So, because these things are the ones that accumulate over time and lead to an eventual stroke. And then one day people say, oh, I just saw him yesterday. Oh, he was fine. I even talked to him. I called him. Well, that person didn't know that his sugar was up the roof. His blood pressure was up the roof. His cholesterol was up the charts. And so all it took is for something small to happen, and then their heart beat faster and they're gone. And then we begin to blame other people for that. So please make sure that you do your annual physicals. Ask and request for your blood pressure. Ask them, I want to know what blood pressure is usually, they usually tell you. But you want to do the blood work for your blood sugar as well as your blood cholesterol. Once you got these three things under control, then of course you look at other things like your breast mammograms, your colonoscopy, your what else? Your prostate, and all those other things also become checked. Now, but if you don't know these first three things, you get a stroke before they even find out that something was wrong with your colon. And so please do not wait until something happens. And I believe that if we all strive to get them, even if we're in a place where doctors are not readily available, if your doctors see that you know what you want, they will usually pay attention to you, because they know that if they play with you, you can see them. You know what you want. And most doctors want to do the right things, So please, let's do that and take care of ourselves. Any other things?
Yeah, and with the regular checkup, if you are a married woman, you're sexually active, you can also follow up with your pap smear and make sure that the doctor, the cervical, checking all that overall you are healthy. And also, we are in the flu shot season, right? Those of us in the cold climate, you just want to make sure that if you get your flu shot every year, just follow up and get your shots. And overall health, do the right things and make the right choices and take care of yourself.
Definitely. All right. I think this is a good place to land the bus, or was the plane. All right. So we hope that you loved the show, the video. Make sure you do us the honor, hit the follow, subscribe, thumbs up, like, love, all those good things that you do when you watch, and share also with somebody that may benefit. And revisit the video. And also, you can go back to our channel on YouTube, which is Dr. Oteng, one word, Droteng, and subscribe to our channel, and you will see all these videos. We have tons of videos about stroke, tons about blood pressure, and all those other cardiovascular issues. So please join us on that channel, and let's make a community of people who want to learn and grow together. All right, so With that being said, we can say, Beloved,
we wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
God bless.